Now, I've brought you to an area that I used to photograph probably about 30 years ago, and I'm really happy to say that it hasn't changed in all those years. This is a little tiny loch just outside of Pitlochry, and it's got a lovely little boathouse. And the nice thing is, right now, the beech tree right next to the boathouse is a blaze of color. Now, even though it's clouded up, we've got some really soft lighting, it'll still make some great images. So let's go ahead and let's get set up and see what we can do here. Okay, I'm setting up with the 24-70, and I'm just getting a little bit of sunlight coming out on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the polarizer on this, because the sun, even though there's, gotta get this. I need to shut up and take some pictures. Here we go. Now, it is, because that sky, if I include the sky, I want to bring that tone down dark enough. So I'm going to use a 3-stop medium grad over this, just to bring that tone down on the sky. That's good. The light's just gone, but the sun's coming through this little pass here, this little gap here. Hopefully it's going to come out again, and it's going to light this tree up. But it's nice to see that the boathouse is still here after all that time. I think I first started photographing Scotland back in the early 90s, and it's just a gorgeous place, and it's nice to see that there are pockets of Scotland that are not overrun with photographers. Now, I've just come from the Highlands around Glencoe. A lot of photographers there, understandably. It's a gorgeous place, but I like the quiet little places like this, where you get some really nice little tranquil scenes. Right, this is what I've been waiting for, some gorgeous light on this. Just bring the grad down a little bit. That looks fantastic. So I'm using these, just getting the white birch tree trunks that really stand out with the boathouse and this gorgeous beech tree. There's still quite a lot of color right around this area, even though we're late autumn now, and we've had a few storms that have come through to strip all the leaves off of a lot of the trees, but this is such a sheltered little area. There's still birch leaves on the trees, so they're usually the ones that go first, followed by the beech. But you can see there's still a lot of great color around. Okay, let's go ahead and get a horizontal on this. Lovely. And the sun's just drifting in and out of the clouds, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes, and then I'm going to have a little walk around the loch and see what else I can get. Now, I've just moved down, slightly down the loch, just to get a little bit of a different angle on the boathouse and the tree, and I'm not wanting to include any sky in this, so I just want to concentrate just on the colors. I don't want to have any distracting light areas now. So it's going to be a fairly tight crop around this, just with the tree coming out. And I have looks like an old birch tree in the opposite bank that's creating a nice white bark structure, trunk, or whatever you want to call it. So that line, so I'm just looking at the lines in this composition and how they fit together. So that's kind of leaning in, and it's kind of holding your eye in on this tight composition. So let's go ahead and just wait a few minutes. I can see there's a hole in the clouds, so hopefully there's going to be some light, and we'll get this shot. Now the light's just coming back out now. That is the shot. That's gorgeous. Really pleased with that. Just going to get a vertical on this. It's always good to have both orientations. And I always say, if you can manage to get a panoramic out of a scene, I try to do that as well. But on this occasion, I don't think it's going to work. Ah, this is fantastic. I've got some great blue sky. I'm going to include some of the foreground here on this shot as well. That's what I love about it. If you're patient, just wait around long enough and the light will come. And if it doesn't, make it black and white. Now, I've just come back to this location, and because the sun's come out, I've changed to a 16 to 35 mm lens, and I've changed my composition. I really like this because I've got some great clouds. I'm using these vertical birch trees. The lines of these trees look gorgeous, and it really makes the colors pop out. Just turn this a little bit more. I've just adjusted the 3-stop grad filter. Instead of coming just over the top of the trees, that section of the frame is quite bright. So I'm bringing it right down into half the frame, so right down to the horizon line. And that is evening out the exposure beautifully. And because I'm using a medium transition, you're not going to see that transition. You could also use a soft transition on this as well, but it's the filter that I have on there at the moment. It does the job. And now you can see there's a really good exposure there, top and bottom. It's nice and even. Histogram looks great. I've got a tree coming in the corner here. I'll take that out in post. I couldn't actually get around that. I didn't want to come in any tighter. So that's something I can just take out in post. Now I think I've exhausted my compositions here. I'm going to have a little walk around the loch, see if I can find anything else. But I've got a lot of other places I want to take you to today. So concentrating on reflections, hopefully. The air is still quite still. So places along Loch and Faskally are where we're going to go next. Now I've brought you to a nice little spot overlooking Loch Faskally. Now it's just off the A9, and you can probably see the A9 or hear it just behind me. It's quite busy, but luckily there's a nice little quiet footbridge that you can shoot peacefully from. Now yesterday I came in the afternoon and I had some gorgeous light coming in from the left here, hitting these trees, and I'll probably show you some of those shots at the end of the video. But I just wanted to come back and get some morning light. And the light looks really nice. Got some clouds coming in, so I'm going to polarize this, and I'm just going to grad right down to the horizon line, like I did in the last shot at the Loch with the boathouse, because I want to even out this exposure. I've got some ducks going through, creating a little bit of ripples, but let's just go ahead and get one off there. Oh, that looks great. Now, the exposure is nice and even. So when you're doing reflections like this, try using a grad, a neutral density grad filter, so you don't have to use the grads right over the sky like most people use it. So when you're doing reflections, bring it right down to the horizon line, into the trees, and that's going to even out that exposure. Okay, now the reflections have really settled down now, so I'm going to do a few more shots, but I think this really lends itself to a panoramic. So I'm going to set this up for that, and if you ever get a chance to, if you want to make your panoramics easier, get a leveling base like this or a reverse ball head. The leveling base on the Gitzo Series 3 tripods are so easy. Because spirit level here, just level that out and you're ready to go. So all I have to do is level out the camera now. And I am gonna track through here, over to here. Now, with the 60-35 that I'm using, I'm shooting quite wide at around 20 mil. I'm getting a little bit of this bridge in, but it's not a big concern because I can clone that out easily. It's just a little tiny corner of it. So now what I want to do is, I'm shooting at f9, 20th of a second, so let's set that to manual. And shut the focus to manual as well. Two, three, and four. All done. Now, I've brought you to one of my favorite places, another one of my favorite places in this area. I know I have a lot of them, but it is a fantastic area to photograph. So what I like about this area in particular is along the sides of Loch here, you have these stands of pine trees large, pine trees large. So it's a really nice mix of color. And as you can see, the reflections here are fantastic. This is usually, if it's windy further down the loch, it's nice and sheltered at this end. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up, I like this base where I'm getting this shoreline coming around, and you have that little rocky outcrop there. And it draws your eye in, you've got the tree framing. So let's go ahead and set up on that. And I just need a little bit of light. You can see the light is just coming out on some of the larches. And oh, it's looking good in here now. That looks fantastic. Now there's one thing about this composition. When you look at it within the frame, you have this light area down here in the bay. So that does take up a lot of the real estate in the frame. And I think I'm going to foreshorten that. So I'm going to lower the camera right down. And what that's going to do, it shortens out that light area, gets rid of it. So let's go ahead and bring the tripod right down low. And we'll just use the display. So I can set this up now. Okay, the only thing I've just noticed, if you go too low, you've got bracken over here on the right. That's intersecting with the line of the reflection. So I need to just raise up to right there. Little details like this make a big difference. Watching all the lines within your frame, what intersects, what merges. Now I've just got to wait for some light. It's just a little bit of light skimming that larch stand there. That looks nice. You know, even with it not lit, it still looks fantastic. But just that little hint of light helps to pick out the colors. I'm really happy with those exposures. It's just such a gorgeous place. You can see why I come back here year after year. And I always find, even though there are places that I've visited before, I always find different shots. Now, if you'd like to come back with me next year, I'm going to be doing a workshop in the Glencoe area. We'll be photographing castles, mountains, lochs, moors, you name it. I've got a few places left. I only take 3 people to make it more intimate, more spontaneous for the light, and I have a lot of fun. So if you want to book your place, check out my website at tommackie.com. Until the next video, bye for now.